For the people that weren't here yesterday, right, we're just gonna work kind of just the idea of it, right? So your partner, you're just gonna stay square with your partner, and it's gonna be straight out just like this, just kind of like a board, right? And then what I'm gonna kind of like Mr. Miyagi, the partner, like wax on, wax off, type of thing. Okay. So what I want to do is I'm gonna kind of create a motion. We're doing the arm drag, right? So I'm gonna Mr. Miyagi. So I'm gonna block one side. And I'm gonna step. I'm gonna just like open the door. Okay. So I'm doing this so I can step here. So control. Okay. I'm gonna pass this hand across my midline. Right. So my center line. I'm gonna pass it over here into my underside. Okay. When I pass it, I'm gonna take a step. I'm gonna try to step past James' middle line now. So my middle line, his middle line, and when I step, I want to step past this middle line. Okay. So boom, control, grab the underpit, and I'm gonna step across. Okay, just like this. Okay, so what it's gonna look like is the arm drag. I'm kind of like trying to draw an arm around his a line around his arm. I'm just gonna follow that. And that's like the most efficient path I want to take, right? I don't want to be trying to run around like this around his arm. I just want to follow his arm. So here. Mr. Miyagi this way, and then I'm gonna drag it across. I'm gonna just follow his arm, bang, just like this. Okay. So my goal is to get my chest to his wrist, to his elbow, to his tricep, and then I'm just gonna try to come across into this kind of like body arm lock triangle position. Okay. So you're just gonna go back and forth. So you're gonna look like this. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, come across. That's it. We're just gonna practice that back and forth for warm up. Okay? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Ankle first. I feel like my ankle's gonna
I'll
fall.
go up.
You okay with this?
So just now when we did the arm drag,
I think you
right?
bend my knee.
We did more kind of like a distance
I remember
arm,
hearing
right?
us talking
We don't have any contact yet, right? So when it's distance arm drag, this is my kind of like Mr. Miyagi that I can go out, and I'm really
Feels like my
just
ankle's gonna fall first.
maintaining that center line, that idea of center line, and tracking the distance of our body, right? So I'm gonna go 1, 2, right? That's the far distance one, right? We can also do another arm drag is if they're pushing on you, right? So this is called the Mexican karate arm drag, right?
Try
Okay, so it's from BT. So same side with a push. So with a push, right? So here, same side arm. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna come down. I'm gonna come down to the wrist. I'm gonna do a pop. Right? I'm gonna pop it, and then same thing. I'm gonna pass it across, and then I'm gonna come through. Right? So this is the same thing, different setup. Right? So he's pushing. I'm gonna come across, pop. Right? So
Now me.
this is the Mexican karate chop. Okay? So this is the motion. So here.
Let's continue doing that.
Right, so I'm feeding into that tricep, and I'm able to come across. Okay, so we have the distance arm drag, 1, 2, where I'm tracking his midline, and then we got the Mexican karate setup. Boom, and then end up in the same position. Okay? Okay, let's try it. So 1, 3, 1, 2, 3.
So you guys did the arm drag to get to the rear. I'm just gonna call it like rear body lock because I'm pretty much behind them. So you ended up here. Your first priority is to have a good grip on their waist. So one arm, the one that's in front of him, in front of his body, I want it to go all the way around to the other side of the hip, okay? And then the one that's behind where his butt is, I'm gonna make it the short arm. So I retract my elbow to my chest to make it tight, okay? You also want your shoulder low so that I have like a waist belt around him, not that I have a seat belt. Because like this, I feel like there's more space for him to get to wrap back around. And also you don't have as good control of his base yet. Because like you're fighting both the upper body and the lower body. Whereas if I'm down here, I just have to fight his lower body, right? Another thing, when you get here, I want to make sure my head is completely flat against his chest like this. And even ideally my neck too, so it's like really deep on his oblique or side ribs. Because if this is loose, basically if any of this closed circle is loose, they're gonna be able to pretty much break out like that or go the other way by popping your grips, right? And then escape. So my head's connected, my arms wrapped around with the long side and the short side. I can even use like a clinch grip that you normally use on the head, on his hip. So I'm gonna clinch and pinch his hip down so that the circle is even smaller. And as long as I keep the circle really small with my head too, I can start manipulating him by pretty much 3 general things. I can like rotate, I can pull them back like this way, or I can push them forward this way. Okay, let's just focus on controlling this position first, because I think getting comfortable here, where you feel like you can just like ragdoll them basically, is more important than being able to put them to the ground. Because if you can ragdoll them, then you can put them to the ground, right?
That's the position.
Yeah, that's the off balancing that you need to finish your techniques. And it's reset. Yeah. So do your cross step, get to the back. Another thing is that you might find this hand is getting trapped. It's good that it's trapped so it works for me, but I also don't care if it ends up not being trapped, so it ends up here. I actually find that this with no arm is tighter because I can wrap around a lot better. Sorry, I'm using the mirror. So I can wrap around a lot better and put my gable grip behind him. That is because the more my gable grip is centered, the more he can push it down, right? But if it's on the side of his body, like all the way here, then I don't need to worry about him being able to push it off, right? It's hidden from him in a way. Another thing is that the one that's the long arm is gonna be palm down, okay? It just makes it harder for him to break as compared to palm up, where it's like gravity's working for him, right? Okay, so we'll just practice control here first.
The forearm thing on the back.
Yeah, so you have your long arm and your short arm. You want to remember to clamp the hip down, okay? You kind of go above the pelvis bone and like push their glute muscle down, and then now you have control of them. Okay, any questions? Okay, 12 on 3, 1, 2, 3. So I was explaining to another group that I realized, me personally, I'd rather have no arm trapped inside. So I'll sometimes actually leave the harness, it's risky, but I leave the harness loose so that they pull their arm out. And then I get a better grip on their hip. Because I feel that if I can wrap around their hip better, like this way, I hide my hand better. So it also gives me a good butt pinch on the back, right? Okay, so positioning, aside from the upper body, what I'm doing with my hands, I also need to worry about what my legs are doing. I don't want to be 90 degrees or perpendicular to them, because there's a risk that if I'm pulling him around and I sit on his knee by accident, it's gonna like tear their knee, right? Just for training safety, I would just be careful. But
So it's only if they're
really,
this
like,
way, you would both
I'm most effective when I'm behind him. So even though I have like what seems like a sideways grip on his hip, I'm actually shifting my body here so that it's like I'm fully behind him and my feet are behind his feet behind him. Okay? To finish the sweep, I do 3 consecutive things like at the same time. It's the thing we practice where I'm pulling his hip down, and how I do that is basically imagine you're like a kid grabbing onto your parent's leg or something. I'm just dragging them down, basically putting all my weight into them so they have to hold me up. I'm doing that. I'm also circling and then tripping his feet. So to trip his feet, I match this foot to this foot, the one that's closer, and then as I rotate and pull, I'm just gonna trap his ankle and bring him to the ground. They'll end up in turtle or side control. I just want you to maintain good connection with your waist grip and your head control all the way down. Because It's good for safety because we're in a small space and stuff, but it's also great for control, right? Because if I can control him all the way down, I'm just gonna start pressuring into him and come up to like start taking the back. There's like a point where it becomes, from a pulling sensation, there's a point where it becomes a driving sensation, right? That's how you stay tight, especially in nogi because they're so slippery, right? Let's just do one more overview. So I'm here, I have a good waist grip, and if I start centering, then I can switch to the other side. The more my shoulder and the side of my neck and my head is connected to his body, the deeper I can make this arm basically. Because look how far I can get it right now. Whereas if my shoulder's not deep, not connected that well, then the arm is short. If I come here, put his oblique on the side of my neck, then it's a very deep grip, okay? And then I do my pinch or my like pelvis clamp in my head position. I can also use this to off balance them, my head position, and knock them forward so that they want to recover, and that's the time to trip them back. Okay? And then follow your partners down all the way.
Yeah.
Get to harness, and we'll stop there.
Because you want the side of the knee, right?
Questions?
What do you do for like larger opponents when you have like a harder time getting around the waist?
Instead of gable grip, the most you can do is S grip. So when I go with Anthony, I have to do an S grip. And you basically have to act fast to off balance them before it gets to, like the situation's too stable, like he can recover easily.
Yeah.
You know?
The weight difference, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here, because we're all like pretty much around the same size, practice the control first. But against bigger guys, you'll have to use some like speed too. Yeah, all good. It's all about kazushi, right? The off balancing. That's what will get you any technique, even from guard. So takedowns especially, I need them to feel off balanced so that they can't recover, right? So against bigger guys, because their weight is so good, it's just harder to off balance them. Okay. 12 on 3, 1, 2, 3.